The whispering shadows of Eldergrove. The cold autumn wind clung to the ancient stones of Eldergrove like a persistent shadow, bending the skeletal branches of the gnarled oaks along the narrow cobblestone streets. The village, shrouded in mist, lay cradled at the edge of the endless forest, where sunlight dared not linger past midday. Smoke from crooked chimneys curled lazily toward the grey sky, carrying with it the faint, acrid tang of burning peat and damp earth. Every footstep on the cobblestones echoed like a muted drumbeat, a lonely rhythm in the silence of an otherwise empty evening. Elric, a boy of 17 summers, hurried through the mist, his cloak pulled tightly around him, ears straining for the faintest hint of sound. The villagers had been whispering for weeks about strange occurrences, the disappearance of children, shadows that moved against the wind, voices that spoke from the darkness. Some claimed the forest itself had awoken, a dark spirit angered by the encroachment of man upon its realm. Others muttered of curses laid centuries ago by an old sorceress whose name had been lost to time, but whose wrath lingered. Elric's best friend, Tomas, had vanished 3 nights past. He had gone to fetch water from the old well beyond the northern ridge and never returned. The village search parties had scoured the forest at dawn, their torches flickering in the fog, but no trace had been found, except, perhaps, for the faint sound of whispering, like the breath of dry leaves over stone. Tonight, Elric decided, he would not wait for someone else to confront the darkness. The forest loomed before him, black and silent, a mass of twisted roots and bramble. Each step into its shadowed heart felt like stepping into another world. The chill seeped through his boots and gloves, and every rustle of leaf or snap of twig made his pulse quicken. Yet he pressed on, guided by the dim light of the crescent moon and the faint, almost imperceptible trail of footprints that Tomas might have left behind. Hours passed, or perhaps only minutes. Time seemed suspended under the oppressive canopy. Somewhere deep within the woods, a low murmur began, soft and indistinct, like voices carried on the wind. Elric's breath hitched as he realized it was speaking his name. Elric, Elric. The whisper rose and fell, faint as a sigh, yet unmistakable. He followed it, though every instinct screamed to flee. Soon he came to a clearing, where the ruins of an old stone chapel rose from the earth like the bones of some long-forgotten giant. Its walls were crumbling, the roof gaping like a silent scream, and the moonlight spilled across the shattered pews, casting long, jagged shadows. In the center of the chapel, a figure knelt, a boy, or perhaps the spirit of a boy, with matted hair and eyes wide with terror. Tomas. Elric, the boy whispered. His voice trembled, and a strange frost clung to his breath, though the air was not cold enough. You should not have come. They are here. Elric stepped closer, heart hammering. Who's here? What has happened, Tomas? The boy's gaze darted to the shadows around them. From the corners of the ruined chapel, the darkness seemed to pulse, thickening as if it had substance, as if it were alive. And then the whispers began again, countless voices murmuring in a language Elric could not understand, a chorus of dread that rose and fell like waves. "They hunger for the living," Tomas said, his voice barely audible. "The shadows, they are the forgotten, the cursed. They linger here in this place, bound by hatred and sorrow, and they have chosen you." A chill ran down Elric's spine as he peered into the darkness. Shapes moved, subtle at first, a flicker of movement at the edge of his vision, but then more pronounced, more deliberate. Figures rose from the floor and walls, their forms indistinct, shifting like smoke. Eyes glowed faintly, and the whispers turned to hissing. "Run," Tomas urged. "Run, before they reach you." But Elric did not move. Something compelled him forward, a strange mixture of fear and resolve. He knew the villagers would not save him, and he could not abandon his friend. He drew a small dagger from his belt, its steel catching the moonlight, and stepped into the blackness. The shadows surged toward him, a tide of living darkness, and Elric felt their cold seep into his bones. He swung the dagger, but it passed through them like mist. Panic rose, but he forced it down, grounding himself. Then he remembered the tales his grandmother had told him, of an ancient bell buried beneath the chapel, whose ringing could banish spirits. "Tomas, where is it?" he shouted, his voice echoing unnaturally. The boy pointed toward a pile of rubble near the altar. "Beneath the stones! Hurry!" Elric dove toward the pile, lifting stones with trembling hands, until he unearthed a small iron bell corroded with age. He grasped it tightly and began to ring. One clear, resonant peal rang out, and for a moment the forest itself seemed to hold its breath. The shadows recoiled, hissing and twisting, writhing like serpents in the light of the moon. Again he rang the bell, faster this time, until the air vibrated with its tone. The whispers grew frantic, desperate, as if the spirits themselves were screaming in fear. Then, as abruptly as it had begun, the noise ceased. Silence fell, thick and absolute. Tomas collapsed, trembling, the frost melting from his skin. You've done it," he whispered. "For now, they are held back." Elric sank to his knees, exhausted, the bell slipping from his fingers. The moonlight bathed the chapel in silver, and for the first time that night, the forest seemed still. Yet he knew, deep down, that this reprieve was temporary. The shadows of Eldergrove did not rest. They waited, patient and eternal, for the next unwary soul to wander too far into their domain. Together, the boys stumbled out of the ruins, the forest seemingly less oppressive, though still whispering faintly in the corners of their ears. The village lay ahead, dimly lit by lanterns, the familiar smell of smoke and wet earth greeting them like an old friend. "Elric, will it ever end?" Tomas asked, voice trembling. Elric shook his head. "No," he admitted softly. "Not truly. But tonight we survived, and that is enough." But the forest had not finished with them. Shadows moved in the corners of the village, thin and fleeting, barely noticeable but undeniably present. Windows that were closed seemed to darken unnaturally, the air inside heavy, thick with whispers. Villagers slept uneasily, dreaming of cold hands, of eyes in the darkness, of things moving beneath the floorboards. Elric could not sleep. He sat by his window, watching the moonlight crawl across the misted streets. He heard the whispers again, soft, almost friendly, but tinged with hunger. Somewhere deep in Eldergrove, something stirred, something ancient, waiting for the night to return fully. Days passed, and the forest seemed quieter, as though the shadows were resting. Yet at night, faint figures would glide past the lantern light, leaving only the echo of cold breath. The village elders muttered prayers over their hearths, and mothers drew blankets tighter around their children. And Elric, standing by the chapel each evening, knew that what he had seen was only a fragment of the darkness that lingered beyond the trees. Weeks later, a traveler arrived at Eldergrove, lost in the fog, speaking of roads that twisted unnaturally, of voices calling his name from nowhere. The villagers led him to the chapel, warning him not to linger near the forest. Yet as he stepped into the clearing, the shadows stirred once more, whispering his name, beckoning him. Elric watched silently, heart heavy. He understood now that Eldergrove's curse was eternal, woven into the very soil, the stones, the roots of the trees. Some would escape, some would not, and the whispers would continue, calling each soul who dared wander too far. That night, as the moon rose high and silver light spilled across the village, Elric heard the faintest voice, Tomas's voice, far away, carried by the wind. "Be vigilant. The shadows never rest." And so it was in Eldergrove, a village at the edge of the world, where darkness breathed, where whispers carried secrets too terrible to speak, and where the brave or the foolish would always hear the call of the shadows in the night. The House That Remembers You. The night after the phone call was the first time Alex truly questioned whether he had ever known himself. The house creaked with a slow, aching breath, as if something old and patient had finally awakened. He lay on the couch instead of the bed. Ever since he heard his own mother whispering his name from the living room darkness, sleep had become a polite suggestion rather than a natural state. At 3:12 a.m., he heard footsteps upstairs, soft ones, measured, human, except no one else lived here. He sat up, heart hammering, eyes fixed on the ceiling, as the steps moved from the hallway to the master bedroom he refused to enter. The room that still smelled faintly of burnt cedar the night he arrived. Then, knocking. 3 slow taps from inside the upstairs room. Alex stood, gripping the broken lamp like a weapon. The air felt colder as he ascended the stairs. With each step, the knocking grew quieter, more hesitant, like whatever was behind the door realized he was coming. He reached the master bedroom. The door stood open. No wind, no movement, no intruder. Just the mirror. The mirror he hadn't noticed before. Tall, antique, its frame carved with twisted figures that bent unnaturally around a border of blackened wood. The surface of the glass rippled faintly, as if stirred by unseen hands. And then he saw it. His reflection blinked half a second before he did. He stumbled back, nearly falling, but the reflection remained still, watching him with a hunger not meant for any human face. "Get out," he whispered to himself, backing toward the door. But then the reflection smiled, a slow, widening curl, and mouthed words Alex didn't say. "We're not done." A cold hand wrapped around his wrist. He screamed and pulled back. No one was behind him. The pressure vanished instantly. When he looked forward again, the mirror was empty. It reflected the room, but not him. Then, footsteps behind him, rapid, running. Alex fled out of the room, slamming the door behind him. He didn't look back. Some things didn't deserve acknowledgement. The following afternoon, Alex drove into town. He needed answers, any answers. The mirror had stolen sleep from him, and the whispering voice in the walls the night before kept repeating the same phrase. "She remembers you." But who was she? And why did the house react to him like a returning guest? His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost declined, but fear made him answer. "Hello?" Breathing. Slow. Wet. Then a deep male voice whispered, "You came back." The call cut instantly. Alex pulled his car over, hands trembling. He looked up and froze. A tall man in a black coat stood in the center of the road, facing away from him. The man lifted one hand and pointed to the forest. Then he vanished. Not walked away, not stepped off, simply gone. Alex scrambled out of the car, shouting, "Hey! Who are you? What do you want from me?" No answer. He stared into the forest. Something moved between the trees, thin, pale, impossibly tall, watching him with glowing amber eyes. When Alex blinked, it was gone. He drove off, tires screeching. The local library was nearly empty, its air stale with old paper and dust. He approached the front desk, where an elderly woman with silver hair arranged books with shaking hands. "Excuse me," Alex said. "I'm looking for records on a property just outside town." She didn't look up. "Which one?" He hesitated. 134 Blackwater Road." Her hands froze mid-movement. Her eyes slowly lifted to his. "Why?" she whispered. "Would you go back there?" Alex's throat tightened. "You know the place?" "It's not the place you should fear." Her voice lowered. "It's the woman who lived there." Alex leaned closer. "Who was she?" The librarian swallowed, voice trembling. "Her name was Marion Hale." A chill spread through Alex's chest. "She..." The old woman hesitated. "She had a son." Alex's fingers tightened around the desk. "A son?" The librarian nodded. "A boy who disappeared. Authorities assumed Marion killed him, but they never found a body. She refused to speak, even at the end." "At the end?" Alex asked. "She died in that house, alone. And the night before she passed," the woman shivered, "she kept saying, 'He will come back,' that she had been waiting all this time." Alex stepped back as if struck. "Do you know the son's name?" The librarian's eyes softened with pity. "Yes," she whispered. "His name was Alex Hale." The world tilted. Alex stumbled into a chair. The librarian reached for him, but he pulled away. "That's impossible," he muttered. I was adopted. My parents..." But he stopped. He remembered. His adoptive mother telling him the paperwork was complicated. His father always changing the subject when he asked where he was born. The missing first 3 years of his childhood, blank in his memory. "Where did they find him?" he asked numbly. The librarian shook her head. "They didn't. He simply appeared at a hospital 3 towns over. No explanation, no witnesses, no records." Alex felt sick. "What happened to the house after she died?" he whispered. "No one would buy it. Until you." He stood abruptly. I don't remember buying." His throat closed. He did sign the deed, but the man selling it never showed his face. Papers were mailed. The price was impossibly low, as if someone had wanted him back. He staggered out of the library. The house wasn't haunted. It was home, and it had been waiting. Sunset bled across the lake as Alex walked toward the old wooden pier. He needed to breathe. The air inside town felt too heavy with unseen eyes. At the far end of the pier sat a girl, barefoot, black hair falling over her shoulders, swinging her legs over the water. She didn't turn as he approached. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly. Alex froze. "Do I know you?" "Yes." A pause. "Or you did?" She turned her head. Her eyes were pale, almost colorless, her face hauntingly familiar. "Who are you?" Alex whispered. "I'm the one who tried to stop you from coming back." He shook his head. "Stop me? Why?" She stood, stepping closer. "You left for a reason," she whispered. "You survived for a reason. But now you've opened the way again." "The way to what?" "To her." The girl's voice trembled. "To Marion." Alex clenched his fists. "Why do you care what happens to me?" Sadness filled her eyes. "Because," she whispered, "I'm your sister." He stepped back as if the pier had shifted under him. That can't." "She kept us apart," the girl continued. "She kept everyone apart. When you escaped, she said she would tear down the world to bring you back." Alex's pulse pounded in his ears. "If you're my sister, what's your name?" The girl stepped backward, fading into the fog rolling over the water. "My name," her voice became distant, echoing, "is Lila." Then she vanished. Not fell into the water, not dissolved, simply ceased. Alex stumbled off the pier, gasping. He had a sister, and she was dead. Yet she had touched his hand. The house greeted him like an animal pleased to see its lost owner. The door creaked open before he inserted the key. Lights flickered to life without him touching a switch. "Marion?" he whispered. A soft humming answered from upstairs. A lullaby. He recognized it. He didn't know how, but he did. The same song the girl on the pier had hummed. He walked upstairs in a trance. Shadows swayed along the walls like arms reaching out. The master bedroom door swung open. The mirror waited. This time his reflection was there, but it wasn't mimicking him. It was a child, a little boy of 3 or 4, with his eyes, small palms pressed against the glass. "Help me," the reflection mouthed. Alex reached. A voice whispered behind him. "He remembers." He turned. Marion stood inches away. White dress, grey matted hair, eyes black and bottomless, her smile impossibly wide. "My son," she whispered. Alex stumbled back, but the door slammed shut. The mirror's surface rippled like liquid. "You came home." Her voice shook with devotion and madness. "You always come home." "Stay away!" Alex shouted. Marion lunged, but at the mirror. Her hands plunged into the glass like water. She pulled the child reflection out, its limbs bending wrong, body glitching. Alex screamed. The little reflection boy screamed too. Marion cradled the creature. "He's incomplete," she whispered. "We need you to finish him." That's when Alex realized It wasn't his reflection. It was his replacement. The version Marion wanted. He ran at the door, breaking it open as Marion shrieked, the mirror bursting behind her in a spray of shards. He fled the house as walls bled black liquid and the structure trembled with rage. When he collapsed in the yard, the house grew silent, watching, waiting. Alex crawled to his car. Before he could start it, his phone rang. Unknown number. He shouldn't answer, but he did. The voice was small, familiar, a child. "Don't leave me in here, Alex." He dropped the phone. Every window of the house lit up, silhouettes of children, dozens, watching him. The phone vibrated again. A photo. Him as a child, standing in the house doorway, smiling. Caption: "Part of you never left." Another photo followed, a picture taken from outside his car window, of him, right now. He wasn't alone. A pale hand rested on his shoulder, a whisper pressed against his ear. "Ready to come home?" Alex screamed, and the house opened its door, slowly, lovingly, waiting for him to return. The Lullaby of Hollowheart Manor, Nightmare Edition. There are places that exist only in memory, or perhaps in nightmares, but the world refuses to acknowledge them. Hollowheart was such a place. It was not marked on any map, yet every so often someone stumbled upon it. Only those who were meant to see it ever did. Hollowheart Manor, a towering mansion at the edge of the town, seemed to exist in a space suspended between life and death, a house that watched, waited, and remembered. Jessica Hale did not remember Hollowheart Manor at first. She did not remember the crumbling orphanage, the fire, the children, or the lullaby. But when she arrived, after a narrow bus ride that seemed to pass through a corridor of silence and shadow, memories began clawing their way back, sharp and unyielding. The bus had been almost empty. Its interior smelled of damp fabric, old vinyl, and something faintly metallic, like rusted blood. Jessica had been the only passenger. The other seats were unoccupied, yet shadows lingered where she could not see clearly, moving in the reflection of the fogged windows. The driver, a thin man with hollowed cheeks, had not spoken once. His pale eyes met hers through the rearview mirror, unblinking, unnervingly fixed, and yet he seemed to see beyond her, straight into her soul. The road stretched endlessly, winding through dense fog and skeletal trees. Their blackened branches curled over the road like cathedral arches, knotted fingers waiting. The silence pressed against her ears, broken only by the occasional creak of the bus and the faint hiss of tires on wet asphalt. Time seemed meaningless here, as if the road itself had paused, waiting for her. When the bus finally stopped at the edge of the town, the driver's lips moved, almost soundless. "No map shows a place that doesn't want to be found," he whispered, the words sliding into her mind like ice. Then he tilted his head toward the road ahead, returning his gaze to the fog. Jessica stepped off the bus, her boots crunching gravel that was too cold, too heavy, as though the earth itself pressed down on her. The road ahead twisted into the mist, flanked by blackened trees that seemed to lean closer with every step. The air smelled of charred roses and iron, sharp and metallic. Her phone had lost signal miles ago. She was alone, utterly alone, yet she felt eyes following her, watching her, waiting. Hollow Heart Manor appeared through the mist like a waking nightmare. Jagged stone walls rose like claws, covered in ivy that pulsed faintly in the dim light. The windows, tall and narrow, reflected nothing yet seemed to follow her approach. The iron gates opened slowly, with a creak like fingernails dragging across bone. Rusted letters spelled a name that stabbed at her memory. Hallowell Orphanage, closed since 1983. Her stomach twisted violently. Memories she had buried for decades pressed at her skull. The laughter, the screams, the fire, the lullaby. She had survived, but at what cost? The front door opened before her hand reached the handle. A woman stood there, impossibly thin, her skin pale, her gray eyes like cold mirrors. Her smile did not reach her eyes. "You're late," the woman said softly, her voice carried not by air but by shadow. Were you expecting me?" Jessica stammered, a shiver crawling up her spine. "My dear," the woman said, tilting her head in amusement, "Hollow Heart waits for everyone, but only a few ever arrive." Before Jessica could ask more, the woman vanished into the house, leaving the door open. Hesitantly, Jessica stepped inside. The interior was suffused with a dim, unnatural glow, as if the walls themselves exhaled light. Dust motes floated like tiny phantoms. The furniture was antique, perfectly preserved, though coated in a layer of dust that smelled faintly of wax and decay. Every step she took made the floor groan, yet it felt as though the house breathed with her, pulsing under her feet. Down the long hallway, portraits lined the walls. Groups of children, their faces smudged or erased, stared back at her with nothing but hollow emptiness. Yet one figure remained, a girl with dark hair, eyes too old for her face, hauntingly familiar. Jessica's blood ran cold. She knew that girl. She was that girl. Her legs moved before her mind could react. She had known this place once, long ago. She had been 6, a child in a house that promised care but delivered terror. The fire had supposedly claimed the other children, but she had survived. She had sung the lullaby to stay calm, to survive. A faint melody began to drift through the hallway. Soft, almost imperceptible. A lullaby. She did not consciously remember it, yet something deep within her stirred. Her stomach lurched. The house was singing it, calling it back. Without thinking, she hummed along. The walls vibrated faintly in response. At the end of the hall was a door she did not remember seeing. Something compelled her to open it. The room beyond was the dormitory, preserved as if time had frozen it. Dust lay thick, sunlight from cracked windows spilling across yellowed curtains. 4 bunk beds lined the walls. On the far bed, her name was carved repeatedly. Jessica Hale, Jessie H., J. Hale, J. H. Beneath the carvings were music notes, her lullaby etched in wood. Memories flooded her. The heat, the cries, the smell of smoke. the children's faces. She had sung to herself, but not to soothe. She had sung to keep the fire at bay, to contain something far worse than flame. From the shadows behind the beds came the sound of breathing. 7 children sat there, silent, their faces blurred, except one, a girl with long, dark hair, her eyelids stitched closed in precise rows. She smiled at Jessica. "Did you bring the song back?" the girl whispered. Jessica's throat tightened. I don't remember," she admitted. "You don't have to. We do," the girl said. The children began humming. Her lullaby, but alive, pulsing, a thing that pressed against her ribcage. It was not comforting, it was a summons. Then the fire returned. Not smoke, not flames, but essence. Halloween night, 1983, came rushing back. Shadows that moved with intent, screams that were not screams, heat that did not burn. She remembered hiding under a bed, clutching a blanket, humming to keep the others quiet, to survive. The caretaker appeared, gray-eyed, unblinking. "You were always one of us," she said softly. "You survived because you carried the song." Jessica's mind fractured. What are they?" The hum grew louder, a single hypnotic chorus. "We are what you left behind," whispered the stitched-eyed girl. "We waited. We learned. We became the house." Walls pulsed. Mirrors multiplied her image. Shadows stretched, elongating into small versions of herself. The line between past and present dissolved. Her body moved, compelled, up the stairs to the attic. Each step groaned under her weight. In the attic, the rocking chair swayed. The lullaby swelled, filling the room, wrapping around her, binding her. "Sing," whispered every voice at once. The caretaker, the children, the house. Her voice rose, trembling, then strong. The house joined her. The lullaby became more than memory. It was life, terror, and death intertwined. She remembered the fire, the children, the night she left, the long years of forgetting. She had never left. The rocking chair stilled. The lullaby slowed. She understood. The children had not waited for her survival. They had waited for her return. And now, there was no leaving. Years later, Halloween came again. A young couple drove down a deserted forest road, the GPS flickering and twisting. A house glowed softly through the mist. Children laughed inside. A lullaby drifted through the trees. The wife whispered, entranced, "It feels familiar." The husband nodded. "It's beautiful, safe." The front door opened before them. A pale woman smiled from the shadows. "Welcome to Hollow Heart Manor," she said. "We've been waiting." They stepped inside. The door closed. The house sighed. The lullaby began anew, pressing outward, calling for the next to return. And then, in a mirror across the hall, the wife glimpsed something that made her blood run cold. a reflection of herself, but older, stitched-eyed, smiling in a rocking chair that moved of its own accord. And somewhere in the quiet, Jessica sang, smiling. The couple did not leave. They never would. Hollow Heart Manor had found them first. The Town That Breathes, Expanded Edition. Elias Granger had always felt that certain places were alive. Not metaphorically, not poetically, truly alive. Breathing, watching, listening. He had spent years chasing stories of ghost towns, cursed villages, ruined settlements, swallowed by time and tragedy. Some were quiet, some unsettling, some outright fake. But Silent Hill was different. He had never been there, yet the name lived in the back of his skull, like a memory waiting to surface. He often woke from dreams where fog curled around him like fingers, or where distant sirens echoed through endless streets of peeling paint and rust. Dreams he never fully remembered when he awoke, only the lingering dread. So, when a faded envelope with no return address arrived at his apartment, containing only a photograph of a fog-choked street and the handwritten words, "You left something here," Elias didn't question who sent it. He simply packed a bag and drove. The closer he got, the more the world seemed to thin out. Color drained from the sky. The trees turned skeletal. The air grew humid and cold at the same time, clinging to his lungs, sliding along the inside of his throat. The fog rose like a tide. By the time his car rolled past the warped wooden sign, "Welcome to Silent Hill," he could barely see more than a few feet ahead. The letters were carved with deep scratches, as though something with claws had tried to erase the welcome entirely. A dark handprint smeared the bottom of the sign. Elias stepped out. The silence hit him like pressure. No wind, no birds, no distant highway hum. Silent Hill wasn't abandoned. Silent Hill was observing. As he walked down the main street, his boots sank into a thin layer of ash-like dust. The buildings leaned toward him like eavesdroppers. The fog curled around his ankles, swirling, pulling, almost guiding him. Then he saw her. A woman stood in the intersection, her white shirt glowing faintly in the fog's diffused light, hair long and black, her posture stiff, unnatural, yet somehow familiar. Elias's breath hitched. He knew her, but he didn't know how. She lifted her face. Her eyes were oceans of grief. "You came back," she whispered, voice trembling like a dying breath through cracked glass. "But too late." Before he could respond, she dissolved into the fog like smoke. Elias staggered back, heartbeat throbbing in his ears. He wasn't sure what disturbed him more, the woman herself, or the impossible sense that she was right. He continued deeper into the town. Storefronts sagged with water damage, windows shattered, metal warped by rust. But despite the decay, the layout felt intentional, like the town shifted to funnel him somewhere. And it had. The library stood at the end of the block, its facade cracked but standing proud, like a monument refusing to surrender to time. The fog thinned around it, forming an almost symbolic clearing. Elias hesitated, then entered. Inside, dust coated everything except for one book lying perfectly centered on a table. Origins of the Silent One. His pulse quickened. He opened the book. Most pages were blackened, smeared, burned. But the first line was perfectly clear. To understand this town, first you must understand yourself. A noise echoed behind him, a door slamming. Elias shut the book instinctively and followed the sound. At the back of the library, a narrow staircase descended into darkness. A cold draft seeped from the bottom, carrying the faint scent of rust and something metallic. He took a step down, then another. The basement was lit by a pulsing red glow, like a heartbeat. Strange symbols carved into the concrete floor glistened wetly, as if freshly cut. At the center was a chair. On it, a photograph. Elias picked it up. 3 people stood smiling in front of a car, though the image felt wrong, distorted around the edges like a warped memory. The man in the photo had Elias's face. His stomach dropped. On the back was a message. You know where they are. A migraine surged behind his eyes. Flashes of memory, fire, metal, screaming. No, Elias whispered desperately. That's not mine. That's not my life. A heavy thud came from the darkness behind him. Then breathing. Wet, raspy, inhuman. Elias turned. A figure emerged, elongated limbs bending like broken branches, skin stretched tight over distorted muscles, eyes burning red. Elias sprinted up the stairs as the creature lunged. The basement door slammed open as he shoved through, stumbling into the main floor and nearly collided with a nurse. But no human nurse. The creature's uniform was white and blood-spattered, the head featureless, no eyes, no nose, only smooth flesh. Her movements twitched in unnatural jerks, like a puppet manipulated by invisible strings. Elias stumbled back. The nurse drifted toward him and vanished into mist. He ran. He burst through the library doors and collapsed onto the street outside, gasping for breath, clutching the book. The fog swirled gently around him like a comforting embrace or a warning. Silent Hill wasn't merely showing him nightmares. Silent Hill was showing him himself. The town rearranges itself. As Elias regained his breath, he noticed something wrong. The street was different. Buildings had shifted places. A road that had been straight before now curved sharply left. A row of houses leaned at impossible angles, as though bending around a gravitational center that Elias couldn't see. Silent Hill was changing its shape. It was funneling him again toward a single, towering structure, rising through the fog like a sentinel. Alchemilla Hospital. The mere sight of the place sent chills through Elias's spine. He clutched the book tighter, swallowing hard. "Why here?" he muttered, but he already knew the answer. Silent Hill wanted him inside. Inside the hospital. The hospital doors slid open with a soft hiss, too smooth for an abandoned building. Inside, fluorescent lights flickered in rhythmic pulses. The air was warm, stale, thick. At the reception desk sat a doctor, but his face was a blank mask of skin stretched tight, featureless like clay. When Elias stepped closer, the doctor turned his head toward him, though he had no eyes. The doctor raised one arm, pointing down a long hallway. Elias felt his knees weaken. I don't want to go that way," he whispered. But his feet moved anyway. The hallway smelled like antiseptic and rust. The lights buzzed overhead, some sparking, some dimming as he passed. He reached a bulletin board covered in old papers. Missing patients. All the photos were scratched out, except one, a fresh, crisp photograph in the center. Elias Granger. Below it, one of us. His blood ran cold. The air shimmered beside him, and the woman from before appeared again, her voice soft and trembling. "You keep trying to forget, but Silent Hill remembers for you." He backed away. "Who are you?" She stepped closer. "I was your wife, Elias." His breath caught. "That's not... I never..." She touched his arm. The hallway dissolved around him. The memory he buried. Rain hammered against a windshield, a child laughing softly in the back seat, a sudden scream, blinding headlights, metal twisting, glass shattering, fire, smoke, darkness. Elias collapsed to his knees as the memory ripped through him. His wife's voice trembled. "You survived. We didn't. You left us there. Alone." No, I didn't want... I couldn't... She faded like fog, her voice a whisper. "You ran from the truth, and Silent Hill brought you home." The hallway reformed around him, but it wasn't empty. Silent Hill nurses, twisted, faceless, crept toward him from both ends, jerking in spasms of unnatural movement. Elias bolted for the stairwell. He descended into the basement, the air thickening with the scent of rot. The moment he opened the basement door, he knew he wasn't alone. A massive ritual circle covered the floor, glowing faintly with pulsing red light. In the center sat a small child playing with a toy car. Elias froze. No. The boy turned. His face was identical to the child in the photograph, Elias's son. The boy's voice was soft, trembling. "Dad, why did you leave us?" Elias's legs buckled. "I didn't. I wanted to stay. I didn't choose to." The boy shook his head. "You survived. We died. You forgot us." Behind the boy, the air thickening with the scent of rot. The moment he opened the basement door, he knew he wasn't alone. A massive ritual circle covered the floor, glowing faintly with pulsing red light. In the center sat a small child playing with a toy car. Elias froze. "No." The boy turned. His face was identical to the child in the photograph, Elias's son. The boy's voice was soft, trembling. "Dad, why did you leave us?" Elias's legs buckled. "I didn't. I wanted to stay. I didn't choose to." The boy shook his head. "You survived. We died. You forgot us." Behind the boy, shadows twisted into a monstrous form. Rage, sorrow, abandonment made flesh. Its voice rumbled, "Remember, Elias, then choose." The truth broke open inside him like a dam bursting. He remembered crawling from the wreck. He remembered hearing their cries. He remembered running, not physically, but mentally, fleeing the trauma until his mind sealed it away like a tomb. Elias wept. "I'm so sorry. I'm sorry." The creature stepped back. The boy dissolved. The basement collapsed into darkness. Elias awoke near the Silent Hill sign again. Fog rolled gently across the ground, the air heavy with expectation. Silent Hill whispered, "If you wish to return, our door will always be open." Elias turned toward the road. He walked away, but the fog followed. Echoes beneath the fog. The road out of Silent Hill stretched before Elias like a pale ribbon vanishing into the mist. For a moment, just a moment, he thought he was free. The fog was thinning, rolling gently across the ground, but no longer suffocating him. The welcome sign stood crooked in the distance, half hidden by the drifting veil. He exhaled. He had survived. He had remembered. He could finally leave. But as he walked toward his car, something shifted behind him, the subtlest ripple in the silence. Elias froze. Silent Hill didn't let go. Not that easily. He opened the car door, slid inside, and jammed the key into the ignition. The engine sputtered, coughed, then roared to life. Relief spread through him. But then the radio crackled. Static at first, then a voice. Soft, familiar. "Daddy, don't leave." The steering wheel slipped from his hands. His breath hitched as cold spread through his chest. "Not again," he whispered. The fog thickened around the car. The engine cut off. The headlights dimmed. Something moved in the rear-view mirror. Just a shadow, but the shape was unmistakable. Small shoulders, a bowed head, a child sitting in the back seat. Elias turned slowly. The seat was empty, but the fog inside the car twisted, swirling like breath. His son's voice whispered again. "You came back for us, right?" Elias closed his eyes, tears welling. "I came back for the truth." A soft sigh drifted through the car. "But you didn't come back for me." The fog surged. Elias dove out of the driver's seat just as the car door slammed shut on its own. The engine roared violently, headlights flaring. Then the car sped forward, straight into the fog. It vanished. The silence returned. Elias stood trembling, his breath visible in the cold air. The fog recoiled, opening a path behind him. A new road. A road that hadn't been there before. Silent Hill wasn't letting him go. It was redirecting him, inviting him deeper. The road that shouldn't exist. The new road curved between dead trees and abandoned houses, their silhouettes warped like melted sculptures. Street lamps flickered, illuminating patches of cracked pavement. Elias walked, book still clutched in his hand, the fog parting around him like an obedient creature. After several minutes, he saw a structure rising through the haze. A tall building constructed of dark, weather-worn stone. Its windows were shattered, its roof partially collapsed. Lakeside Historical Society, the sign read. Another pull stirred inside him, deeper than instinct. He pushed open the front door. It groaned loudly, echoing into the hollow interior. The museum interior was coated in dust and darkness, its exhibits frozen in time. Glass display cases were cracked. Old photographs lined the walls, grainy images of miners, settlers, fires, and rituals. One display stood intact, the God of the Order. Inside was a metal carving of a monstrous figure, wings spread, eyes hollow, arms outstretched. A bronze plaque read, "The town's spiritual heart, a deity of rebirth, reflecting the soul of its worshippers." Elias shivered. The carving's eyes seemed to follow him. He turned away and nearly collided with a mirror he hadn't noticed before. His reflection stared back, pale and shaken. But something was off. His reflection wasn't mimicking him. It breathed slower. It blinked later. It lifted its head with a delay. And then it smiled. Elias stepped back, heartbeat pounding. His reflection whispered, "You're not done." Then the glass cracked. A hairline fracture, then another. until the entire mirror webbed with cracks, and his reflection stepped forward. It peeled itself from the glass like a shadow gaining substance. Elias stumbled back as the thing, his double, tilted its head. Its eyes were hollow pits. Its mouth hung open in a grotesque imitation of speech. "You abandoned them," it gurgled. "I didn't," Elias whispered. "You forgot them." "No." "You let us burn." The double rushed him. Elias ducked, grabbing a rusted metal rod from a fallen exhibit. The shadow Elias screeched, swinging its elongated arms. Elias dodged, adrenaline surging, slamming the rod into the creature's torso. It burst into ash. The ash hung in the air, swirling into words. "Go to the lake." The museum lights flickered violently, the world shaking. Elias bolted outside as the building collapsed behind him in a cascade of dust and shattered stone. The fog parted again, exposing a narrow path leading toward Toluca Lake. He followed. Toluca Lake. The lake's surface lay perfectly still, reflecting the fog like a mirror. The water was black, dense, as though hiding depths far beyond natural. A small dock stretched into the water. At the end stood a figure. The woman, his wife. Her pale dress fluttered in the wind, though there was no wind. "You remembered us," she said softly. Elias approached slowly. "I didn't want to forget," he whispered. "You didn't forget. You forced yourself to." She looked toward the lake. "This is where it happened." Elias blinked. "No, the crash was on the highway." She shook her head. "Elias, the highway led here. You drove into the fog. You lost control. We crashed on the shoreline." Memories stabbed him like needles. The lake, the rain, the screaming. "We drowned," she whispered. Elias staggered. "No, I pulled you out. You tried," she said gently. "But you dragged us to Silent Hill instead." The lake's surface rippled. A shape rose beneath the water. Massive, shifting, wrong. Limbs, wings, eyes. Dozens of eyes opening and closing. Elias stumbled back. The woman didn't move. "You brought us here, to a place that feeds on guilt. You tried to bury the memories, but the town remembered." The water erupted upward. A colossal creature emerged, part deity, part nightmare, its form ever shifting, constructed of pain, sorrow, and darkness. Its many eyes blinked in unison. The god of Silent Hill. The woman whispered, "It feeds on what you fear most." The creature roared, shaking the shoreline. Fog swirled violently, forming spirals around Elias. He tried to run. The creature's limbs slammed down, blocking his path. He fell backward, scrambling in the gravel. The woman approached him, kneeling. "You have to face it," she said softly, "or you will never leave." The creature reared back, its body twisting into a vortex of shadows. A monstrous voice boomed from the sky. "Remember!" Elias grabbed the book. Origins of the Silent One. The pages flipped violently, stopping at one illuminated symbol. A ritual, a confrontation, a choice. The text read, "The god shapes itself from the supplicant's soul. To defeat the god is to defeat the self." Elias shook. "I can't face that," he whispered. "You already are," his wife said. She touched his forehead. Memories poured into him. The crash, the screams, his son's hand slipping from his, the cold water, the fog, the guilt that ate him alive for years. The creature lunged. Elias stood his ground, him slammed down, blocking his path. He fell backward, scrambling in the gravel. The woman approached him, kneeling. "You have to face it," she said softly, "or you will never leave." The creature reared back, its body twisting into a vortex of shadows. A monstrous voice boomed from the sky. "Remember!" Elias grabbed the book. Origins of the Silent One. The pages flipped violently, stopping at one illuminated symbol. A ritual, a confrontation, a choice. The text read, "The god shapes itself from the supplicant's soul. To defeat the god is to defeat the self." Elias shook. "I can't face that," he whispered. "You already are," his wife said. She touched his forehead. Memories poured into him. The crash, the screams, his son's hand slipping from his, the cold water, the fog, the guilt that ate him alive for years. The creature lunged. Elias stood his ground. "I remember!" he screamed. The fog exploded outward. The creature shrieked as its body convulsed, shrinking, folding inward. The more Elias remembered, truly remembered, the smaller the monster became. He relived everything. Every mistake, every moment of helplessness, every second of grief. The creature shrank to human size, then child size, then it was his son. A small boy, drenched, trembling, staring up at him with broken eyes. Elias fell to his knees, sobbing. "I'm sorry. I couldn't save you. I should have died too." His son stepped forward. "Tears don't save the dead," the boy whispered, voice shifting between childlike innocence and ancient wisdom. "But acceptance frees the living." The boy touched Elias's chest. Warmth spread through him. The shoreline brightened. The fog receded. The boy dissolved into light, and the town sighed, relieved or disappointed. Elias stood alone on the dock. The fog continued to pull back, revealing a clear path out of the town. His wife's voice whispered one last time, "We forgive you. Now forgive yourself." Elias whispered back, "I love you." Silence. Then the town answered, "Go." Leaving Silent Hill, Elias walked. For the first time, the fog did not follow. The air grew clearer. The color returned to the sky. Birds chirped faintly in the distance. The Welcome to Silent Hill sign came into view once more, but it looked different now. The scratches were gone, the handprint erased, just a simple sign for a forgotten town. Elias stepped past it. The fog stopped at the boundary, swirling like a living curtain. Silent Hill whispered, "If you wish to return, our door will always be open." Elias continued down the road. Behind him, the fog closed. Ahead of him, the world waited. He did not look back. Not this time. Not ever again. The town that refuses to sleep. Elias stood on the roadside, frozen between breaths. Dawn had barely cracked the horizon, casting a weak, washed-out blue across the fog-thick world. He thought he had escaped. He thought the town had released him. But Silent Hill never released anyone. When he turned back toward the road, he saw something impossible. His car. The same car he swore had vanished when the town consumed him. It sat exactly where he had first arrived, as if placed there by an unseen hand. The doors were open. The headlights were dimming. The engine clicked with heat, still warm, as though someone had been driving it seconds ago. "No," Elias whispered, stepping toward it. "I abandoned you." But when his palm touched the hood, the heat pulsed beneath his skin. It was freshly driven. He opened the driver's door. The interior was empty, quiet, untouched, except for a single object left on the seat. A photograph. Elias lifted it slowly. It was the same picture of his family, him, his wife, his young son. But this time the background wasn't their old living room. It was Silent Hill. Fog curled around the edges like fingers. On the back, a message scratched in jagged strokes. "We're not done with you." Elias staggered backward. "What else do you want from me?" The wind didn't answer, but the ground did. A voice rose from the soil itself, deep, ancient, resonant. "You." The forest beside the road shifted. Trees bent inward, branches aligned to form a narrow path, one that hadn't existed a moment earlier. Silent Hill was shaping itself, inviting him. No, commanding him. Elias swallowed the lump in his throat and stepped onto the path. The path to nowhere. The deeper Elias walked, the darker the world became. Fog thickened, not white but gray, then ashen, then nearly black. The trees twisted above him, forming a canopy that blotted out the sky entirely. By the time the fog thinned, Elias realized he was no longer in a forest. He was standing before a towering gate, wood and rusted metal fused together in unnatural angles. Above it, a sign barely clung to its screws: Lakeside Correctional Facility. But someone, recently, had carved a new word into the metal: Granger. Elias froze. Why my name? The gate groaned open. He had no choice but to walk inside. Inside the prison. The air inside was colder than winter night. A damp, suffocating chill seeped into Elias's bones. The floor sloshed with ankle-deep water, reflecting the trembling glow of flickering ceiling bulbs. The walls trembled with every one of his footsteps. The prison wasn't abandoned. It was asleep. And Elias's presence was waking it. From one of the cells, he heard whispering, soft at first, then clearer. He approached cautiously. Inside the cell was nothing but shadow. But the shadow moved. Not fluidly, jerky, as if stitched together from different silhouettes. Then the shadows formed a shape: a woman, then a child, then a man, then all three overlapping. His family. Elias felt his heartbeat spike. No, this isn't real. The shadow reached out. Its fingertips grazed the air, and Elias felt a freezing burn on his arm, even without contact. The shadow spoke with 3 voices at once. Finish your sentence. No, Elias gasped. I don't belong here. But the other cells awakened. Dozens of voices rose in a cacophony. All of this is your fault. You left us. You lived. You ran. Elias covered his ears, but the voices filled his skull. He sprinted down the corridor. A door slammed open ahead of him. He ran through it. The execution wing. The execution chamber felt older than the rest of the facility, older than the town. The smell of burnt metal and ancient ash clung to everything. At the center stood an electric chair, its cables severed, its wood blackened by countless scorch marks. But the chair wasn't empty. A body sat slumped in it. Elias's body. Burned, charred, mouth sewn shut, eyes hollow sockets filled with dried blood. The corpse's head twitched toward him. A voice like cracking stone escaped from its ruined throat. Sit. Elias backed up until he hit the wall. No, this isn't my punishment. The corpse smirked, or the remains of its burnt lips attempted to. Who decided that? Elias had no answer, because deep down, he knew. He had always been his own judge. Hallway of the Forgotten. He fled the execution wing, stumbling into a new corridor. But the corridor was wrong. Hundreds of human faces were embedded in the walls, frozen mid-scream, mid-cry, mid-beg. Men, women, children, all trapped in stone. And then their eyes opened, all of them. Elias choked on terror. The faces spoke in a layered whisper. "We did not call you here." Elias's voice cracked. "Then who? Who brought me?" The faces fell silent. One face pushed forward from the wall, his wife's face. She opened her mouth. "He did." Elias shook his head wildly. "Who is he?" Her eyes sharpened. "The town." For the first time since he arrived, Elias finally understood. Silent Hill was alive, and Elias was its chosen prey. The Mirror Hall. At the end of the corridor was a heavy metal door, etched with symbols Elias had seen in the cursed book from the library. The door unlocked itself. The room inside was made entirely of mirrors. Floor, ceiling, walls, endless reflections from every direction. When Elias stepped in, his reflections multiplied infinitely. But something was wrong. His reflections didn't mirror him. One blinked late. One didn't blink at all. One smiled despite Elias's terror-frozen face. One's eyes were completely black. One's mouth moved, but silently. And then, one reflection raised its hand. Elias had not moved. Slowly, every reflection turned toward him. The floor reflection whispered in a voice like shattered glass. "We are not complete without you." The ground shattered beneath his feet, and he fell into darkness. Beneath the surface of yourself, Elias hit water, but he didn't sink. He breathed it. The world around him was an endless black lake. Ripples pulsed with faint red light. Something enormous moved beneath the surface, circling him. In the center of the submerged world stood a wooden table lit by a single floating lantern. On it were objects from his life. His wallet, his wife's ring, his son's toy car, a burned piece of their family photo, and finally, a death certificate. He lifted it. Elias Granger, cause of death, undetermined. A soft voice spoke behind him. Screaming face. Its head was Elias's. The creature spoke with a thunderous chorus of his own voice. "I was born from you." Elias stumbled back. "No, you're the god of this town." The creature roared. "I am what you created. This town is your mind." And suddenly it made sense. The guilt, the faces, the twisted history, the endless shifting streets, the town's obsession with him. Silent Hill wasn't punishing him. It was him. Elias took a breath, deep, shaking, painful. He placed a hand on his chest and whispered, "I accept it. What happened, what I did, what I couldn't do, what I ran from, all of it." The creature's body split with a deafening shriek. The lake cracked like shattered glass. Faces melted, shadows dissolved. The mirrors from above rained down in fragments of light. The prison collapsed. The sky returned. As the creature faded, it whispered, "You are free." Epilogue: The Road Home. Elias found himself back at the Silent Hill welcome sign. But now the town behind him was still. No fog, no whispers, no monsters. Just silence. Real silence. The sun had risen. He turned toward the road, toward the living world. Behind him, distant and faint, he heard one last whisper. "Return if you wish. Our door is always open." Elias exhaled. Not anymore. And he walked away, this time truly alive. Elias had been walking for what felt like hours, though the sun had barely moved across the sky. The road outside Silent Hill was unnervingly straight, slicing through empty fields and pine forest that whispered in the cold morning breeze. With every step that carried him farther from the town, his chest felt lighter, yet a faint unease clung to him, like a thread he couldn't sever. At last, he reached a small roadside diner. Ruby's Place, the sign read. Neon lights flickered lazily above the door. A thin curl of smoke rose from the chimney, bending in the wind towards Silent Hill, as though unwilling to fully escape its pull. Elias entered. Warm air greeted him, dense with the smell of coffee and buttered toast. A radio hummed softly in the corner. A waitress glanced up from behind the counter, giving him a polite smile. "Long night?" she asked. "You could say that," Elias murmured, sliding into a booth. He felt normal again. Human. Safe. A pot of coffee appeared before him, steam rising in gentle spirals. He wrapped his hands around the mug, relishing the warmth. Maybe he really had escaped the town's grip. Then he saw it. A newspaper on the counter. The date. 3 years earlier. Elias blinked, rubbed his eyes, looked again. The date didn't change. He stood abruptly, nearly knocking over the mug. "Excuse me," he said to the waitress, trying to keep calm. "Is this today's paper?" She looked at it, confused. "What else would it be?" "But the date." She laughed lightly. "Honey, that's right." He swallowed. Hard. The diner lights flickered. The radio crackled. A familiar static seeped into the room, gentle at first, then growing sharper, filling the space like invisible smoke. Elias stepped back. "No, no, not here. I left. The waitress tilted her head, her smile fading. "Left where, sweetheart?" Her face blurred around the edges, the room dimmed, the static thickened. Elias stumbled toward the exit, shoving the door open. Outside, fog, waiting. The same color, the same texture, the same breath of the town. It rolled across the road like a living tide, swallowing the world he had hoped to rejoin. From behind him, the waitress's voice slivered through the dimness, no longer friendly, no longer human. "You didn't even ask where you were." Elias turned slowly. The diner was gone. In its place stood a building he recognized too well. Alchemilla Hospital. Warped, rusted, pulsing with an inner heartbeat. "No," Elias whispered. "I crossed the boundary. I left you. You can't be here." The fog hissed. "We were always here." Elias backed away, feet crunching on gravel that hadn't been there a moment before. The landscape reshaped itself under his trembling footsteps. Street signs bending, trees twisting to form a grotesque archway. The sky bruised purple, as if bruised by something colossal, pressing against reality. Then he saw them. Two figures standing in the fog. His wife, his son. Only they were not the phantoms from the town, nor the twisted illusions from his guilt. They were normal, warm, human, almost glowing.
"Elias,"
his wife whispered.
"it's time."
He stepped toward them, tears welling. "Time for what?" His son reached out a small hand.
"For your answer."
The fog circled them in a slow spiral, like a great serpentine creature coiling around prey and sanctuary alike. His wife continued.
"You faced your past, but Silent Hill isn't made of the past. It's made of what comes after."
Elias swallowed. "I don't understand."
"You must choose,"
she said, voice trembling.
"Truly choose. Not by fear, not by guilt."
She pointed behind him, toward the open road, where sunlight waited beyond the fog.
"Walk away,"
she said softly.
"and you live your life. You heal. You breathe again."
Elias turned. The sky there looked impossibly blue. Then she pointed behind herself, toward the hospital doors yawning open like a wound.
"Or come back," she whispered. "Stay with us, with the memory of us, with what you lost."
Her eyes glistened with hope and sorrow.
"We aren't real, Elias, but the love was."
The child tugged his sleeve gently.
"Dad, will you stay?"
Elias felt something inside him fracture with unbearable clarity. He knelt before his son, placed a trembling hand on his cheek.
"I want to," Elias whispered. "Oh, God, I want to." His voice cracked like dry earth. "But you're gone." His son's eyes softened. "It's okay, Dad." The hospital lights dimmed, as though disappointed, hungry. The fog swelled with a long, drawn-out groan. Elias stood, turned, and walked toward the sunlight. The fog lashed at his heels, swirling angrily, but it could not cross the boundary. It stopped inches from his back, trembling like a chained beast. He crossed the threshold. The world beyond was bright, silent, warm. Finally. But as he walked, something shifted. The fog did not retreat. It waited. It whispered, "You will return." Elias did not look back this time, but he felt it. A small curl of fog drifting inside his shadow. Silent Hill never truly let go. The world outside Silent Hill felt unreal, too clean, too quiet, too normal. Elias walked through the warm morning light as if it were a dream. Birds chirped in distant pines. A breeze brushed his face. The air didn't choke or whisper or pulse. It was simply air. He found a small roadside bench and sat. His hands trembled, not from fear now, but from the strange, unfamiliar absence of it. For the first time in years, he felt like a man instead of a shadow. He let his eyes close, just for a moment, just to breathe. Elias's eyes snapped open. The bushes beside him rustled. Just a squirrel, he told himself. Just nature. But the hairs on his neck rose. Slowly, he turned. A piece of paper lay on the bench beside him, folded once. He hadn't heard anyone approach. He hadn't felt a presence. He hadn't seen a hand put it there. Yet it was there. His heartbeat quickened as he picked it up. The paper was damp and soft. Silent Hill fog damp, Silent Hill fog soft. He unfolded it, breath locked in his chest. Inside was a photograph. His family. But not the one from before. This one was new, fresh. His wife and son stood in the middle of an unfamiliar street in Silent Hill. Fog pooled around their feet. They were smiling, not hauntingly, not mournfully, but warmly. His wife's handwriting was on the bottom. "We're proud of you." Elias stared at it, tears filling his eyes. He could almost hear their voices, almost feel them beside him. He pressed the photo to his chest. A breeze swept across the bench. Soft, cold, different. He looked up. A thin ribbon of fog drifted across the road, not thick enough to swallow anything, but enough to shiver the air. Enough to curl like a knowing smile. The fog paused, then parted, revealing something on the asphalt, a small object.
Elias stood slowly, legs unsteady, and approached. It was a toy car. His son's toy car. Pristine, clean, not rusted, not burned, as if it had just been placed there by a small hand. Elias lifted it. The metal was warm, and on the underside, freshly scratched into the paint, were 3 words: "See you soon." The breeze died. The world held its breath. Elias closed his eyes. A long, slow exhale melted from his lips. He put the toy car in his pocket, turned toward the open road, and continued walking. But behind him, the fog rolled forward an inch and stopped, watching, waiting, remembering. Silent Hill never chased those it owned. It waited for them to come home. And some doors, once opened, never truly close.
Before Pine Hollow had a name, long before Pine Hollow was called Pine Hollow, it was simply the clearing, a small wound cut into the forest. The trees there were older than memory, their trunks thick and scarred, their roots tangled beneath the soil like veins. Winters came early and left late. Snow piled high enough to swallow fences, barns, even entire houses if no one dug fast enough. People didn't come here because they wanted to. They came because they had nowhere else to go. The first settlers were desperate. Families fleeing famine, disease, wars that followed them like ghosts. They built their homes too close together, as if warmth could be shared by proximity alone. But winter took anyway. Children died first, then the old, then the weak. And when hunger set in, when the snow refused to melt, and the forest offered nothing but silence, the bells rang for the first time. No one admitted to hanging them. No one claimed to own them. But they rang, soft, patient, persistent, and something followed the sound. Eleanor's first Christmas. My grandmother was 12 the first time she saw it. She wrote about that night in the notebook, but not as a warning, as a confession. It came during a winter worse than any before it. Crops failed completely. Livestock froze in their stalls. The river cracked open and swallowed a man whole when he tried to cross it. On Christmas Eve, the bells rang from the forest. People gathered in the town hall, clutching candles, whispering prayers to gods that had already turned away. That was when it stepped out from between the trees, tall, red, smiling. It spoke with a voice that made grown men cry, not from fear, but relief. It promised warmth, food, an end to winter. All it asked was that one child be given a new purpose, not taken, chosen. Eleanor remembered her mother's hand tightening around hers. She remembered the way the crowd slowly turned, and she remembered the moment she understood something far worse than fear. The town was willing. The first coat, the first red coat was sewn that very night. Not from fabric bought or traded, but from clothing already owned, sleeves from a father's jacket, buttons from a dead woman's dress, lining taken from blankets meant for children who would never use them. The coat wasn't given to the child. The child grew into it. And when the bells rang the following winter, they rang from inside the town, why Eleanor was allowed to live. My grandmother survived that first Christmas for one reason. She understood. Most children screamed, cried, fought, tried to run when the bells grew louder and the red figure stepped closer. Fear made them loud, and loud things were fragile. Eleanor wasn't. She watched. She noticed how the thing in red never forced anyone, how it waited, how it spoke softly, choosing words the way a surgeon chooses tools. She noticed that the bells didn't ring to command, but to invite. And she noticed something else. The child chosen that night did not look afraid. He looked relieved. That realization lodged itself deep in Eleanor's chest and stayed there for the rest of her life. When the coat was finally placed on the boy's shoulders, when the bells fell silent and warmth returned to the town, Eleanor didn't cry like the others. She memorized everything instead. The way the snow softened, the way people breathed easier, the way guilt settled in like a second winter. That was why she was spared, not out of mercy, out of usefulness. The mistake that could never be repeated. The notebook spoke of one winter the town tried to break the cycle. It happened decades later, when Eleanor was already a grown woman. The child chosen that year ran, not far, but far enough. He crossed the salt lines. He screamed for his mother. He refused the coat. The bells rang louder than ever before. That winter, the snow didn't stop. 3 houses collapsed under its weight. The river swallowed 2 more people. Food spoiled overnight. Children fell sick without explanation. The thing in red did not rage. It simply waited. And when the town finally begged, when they dragged the boy back through the forest, half frozen and sobbing, the bells stopped instantly. The lesson was clear. The role could not be rejected, only delayed. The child who wore it too long. There was another story Eleanor wrote reluctantly, about a man who wore the coat too long. Most carried the role for decades, some for a lifetime. But one, his name erased deliberately, refused to pass it on. He liked the warmth, the certainty, the way the town looked at him with gratitude and fear woven together. He liked being needed, so he stopped listening. He stopped teaching. That was the year children began to disappear outside of Christmas. That was the year the forest grew restless. That was the year the forest grew restless. And that was the year the bells rang without hands to carry them. The coat was taken from him, violently. The town never spoke his name again, and the rules became stricter. Caleb's childhood. I remembered things differently now. Christmas mornings where I woke to silence instead of excitement. The way my parents never laughed on Christmas Eve. The way my grandmother always stood near the window after sunset, listening. I remembered once, when I was 9, hearing bells in my sleep. I'd gone downstairs. I'd stepped over a salt line. And I'd seen red fabric hanging in the dark, like a shadow with weight. My grandmother had found me moments later, shaking, unable to speak. She never punished me. She just cried. That was the night she knew. Why Seth was already chosen. Seth wasn't random. None of them ever were. The notebook explained that the same soul always returned, not by memory but by tendency. A child who listened more than spoke, who felt responsible for quiet things, who sensed when balance was wrong. Seth had watched the forest longer than other children. He'd heard the bells in his dreams. By the time I reached him at the tree line, the choice had already been made. I was just fulfilling it. The bells change hands. Walking through the forest with Seth felt familiar. The bells hung from my wrist now, lighter than they had ever been. They rang only when I moved, only when I allowed them to. That sound, Seth said softly, it makes things calm. It's supposed to, I replied, but only if you respect it. He nodded, serious. He would be good at this. That thought should have horrified me. It didn't. What Christmas really is. Christmas was never about gifts, it was about continuity. About a story people told themselves so they wouldn't have to look too closely at what kept them warm. The coat, the bells, the child who learned instead of dying. By the time the snow fell heavier again, Seth was already asking questions. Good ones. The kind that meant the cycle would continue cleanly. Seth's first Christmas Eve. Seth didn't ask where we were going. That was the first sign he would survive. The forest opened slightly as we walked, the trees leaning away just enough to let us pass. Snow settled on branches but never touched us. The bells at my wrist chimed softly, not with warning, but with rhythm. This is the night, I told him. The one everyone waits for, he asked. The one everyone pretends is harmless, I replied. We reached a small clearing I remembered from other lives, a place where the snow always lay smoother, untouched by wind. The air was warmer here, though no fire burned. I took the coat from my shoulders. For the first time in centuries, it felt heavy again. You don't put it on yet, I said. Not tonight. Seth frowned. Why not? Because tonight, you learn. The teaching. We sat together in the snow. I told him everything. Not all at once, but carefully, in layers, about Pine Hollow, about the winters that would come if no one listened, about the difference between protection and control, about why fear made the bells ring louder and understanding made them soften. He listened without interrupting. Children like Seth always did. When do I wear it? He finally asked. When you stop asking why, I said gently, and start asking how. He nodded. The forest exhaled. What the town never sees back in Pine Hollow, lights glowed warmly, families gathered, plates were filled. Laughter returned to places where it had been absent for weeks. They would never see us. They never did. All they knew was that winter would loosen its grip, that no one would starve, that the cold would behave. They called it luck. They called it tradition. They never called it what it was. Payment. The last lesson Eleanor gave me. I thought of my grandmother then, not as she was at the end, but as she had been when I was small, standing in doorways, watching, waiting, preparing me without ever naming what I was becoming. She had never lied. She had simply waited for the moment when the truth would no longer be avoidable. In that way, she had been kinder than most. On passing the wait, as dawn approached, the sky lightened just enough to suggest morning. I stood and held the coat open. Seth rose slowly. "Next year?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "Not before." He reached out and touched the fabric. The bells chimed once. Approval. The coat would recognize him when the time came. The final shape of things. By the time we returned to the edge of the forest, Pine Hollow was fully awake.